From the beginning of this class, I have defined teaching as a practice that should empower students to be able to think and learn for themselves. After having reviewed countless articles from John Seeley Brown's learning frameworks to educators' theories on wikis to connected learning, I can say that my view remains largely unchanged. Though I now have specific academic vocabulary and theories to discuss technological learning environments, I still feel as if my ideas regarding teaching are the same as when the course started. As I said before, my philosophies about teaching have remained largely unchanged. But the biggest reason for this is that my teaching philosophies were mostly aligned with the ideas from this course to begin with. Despite this being an intro course for the LDT program, it is the last course I will take in order to complete my M.Ed requirements. My ideas on teaching and education have already been heavily influenced by the LDT courses I've previously taken. Interestingly, and perhaps unexpectedly, I have noticed bigger shifts in my teaching philosophy from the actual process of planning and teaching students in my real life and my career. This real-life practice has somewhat altered my views of teaching in specific contexts. For example, my school cares mostly about helping students develop the appropriate values they will need for collegiate life and beyond. There is also a large emphasis on testing and ensuring that students can graduate to the next grade. The impoverished student populations we serve have historically been so educationally underserved that they are several grade levels behind their peers. In order to catch them up, we have to teach very quickly and very specifically to the content, which, in certain ways, limits the discovery mindset I had initially envisioned for teaching. I wonder if teaching that catches up students is inherently better or worse than teaching that is more discovery-based. They aren't mutually exclusive, of course, but I don't yet know how best to combine the two. This is a concept I will grapple with as I move forward in my career as a middle school educator. As Thomas and Brown had written earlier in our semester, learning occurs when students have access to sufficient information and an environment that allows learners to experiment and enjoy what they are learning. Of course, students can learn from taking notes and reciting back information, but what is the depth of that knowledge? Will it stick with them for a year or even a month? Deep learning requires that students care about the content they wish to learn, to the point where their curiosity, and not any external imposition, draws them to explore. As I've stated before, I believe that teachers should act mostly as facilitators, and students should be doing the bulk of the work. This is an idea that I've seen supported in the teachings of this class, and also the teachings of my school and organization. The trickiest part I've found is 1. Figuring out how much to scaffold students such that they are able to complete the bulk of the work with the instructor acting as a facilitator, and 2. How to align this work such that it still meets individual standards or requirements your school or state may impose. That is the question I am actively working on as I start my teaching career. Similar to my response 2 questions ago, I think learning takes place when students have the resources to learn and the motivation to do so. The indicators of learning are the palpable curiosity, that air someone exudes when they are passionate about understanding content and express that passion. Technology greatly facilitates students' access to information, which is one of the 2 most important aspects of deeper, more authentic learning experiences. The other way that technology can facilitate more authentic learning is to expose students to experiences that are more naturally catered to authentic learning than traditional classrooms may be. Students could be creating wikis and projects with one another, using the feedback of their peers to look at their writing abilities with fresh perspectives, and students could immerse themselves in online communities they care about, learning anything from coding to email organization and scheduling. As I've said before, I think the trickiest aspect with using non-traditional approaches to learning is to find out how to make them work in public learning settings where you are accountable for many different standards. But we already have several examples of that. so maybe our next step is simply humility and imitation.